Well, we're back for a quickie little video, just because I'm struggling to find a bit of content. Tomorrow is my next treatment for multiple sclerosis, and my energy is at an all-time low. Also, what happens about this time of year is I get rashes up my arm, or this time of month rather, and that usually abates after treatment. I've also got gout as well, so autoimmune disorders are a problem. But what I do need to do is the 6-wheel drive ambulance here. I need to inspect the third tail shaft that comes off the PTO drive to this axle. The boot has been off-centered. There's a clip of some footage I will include in a moment here that shows exactly what's happening with that. Now, as you can probably see, that boot is a little off center, and I think there's some grease built up in there, so I need to get to it and give it a squeeze and recenter some of the grease in that anyway, just for the temporary. The other thing I need to do is, because we are going to be taking this, and I do intend to lay down to recover after my treatment, I have all the light and sound show from the military museum bits and pieces in here to remove as well, and a TV which I need to modify for an automatic startup mod. So yeah, there's a bit to go, and I need to straighten my fridge up as well. It needs to be repositioned on that as well. That bit is at least done. Alright, let's crawl underneath and see if I can get back out once I'm under there. Alright, now one problem I have that is especially bad when I'm coming up to my treatment is I get wild head spins when I'm laying on my back. And there are midges that have taken up residence under here. Now there's something else I need to do too. The other day this flange was loose, and I had to take it off to check the bolt, or check the flange nut, and I put Loctite on it, which seems to be fairly firm. Now this CV boot here, it's a power steering boot, so it's not a CV boot. My language and ability to concentrate goes out the window as well. This is a power steering boot that was put over this tail shaft because I couldn't find the correct one. And actually, from the feel of it, there's not really any grease in there. It's just that this is fairly heavily compressed. It's hanging out to the side. I don't think that's at all at risk of falling out. Now there is some loose, there is a bit of slack in that shaft, which I don't think is good. I might need to investigate that in the near future. I'm just checking for any other loose bits and bobs while I'm under here. Spin you around and have a look up. Exhaust is good. This is probably some of the noise I hear is the exhaust smacking on this shaft occasionally. This is the PTO shaft. There's no free running hubs in that rear differential, so this spins all the time. Now, I put grease in it recently. This is the intermediate drive, and this is good. So that rear shaft has definitely got some slack in that slip joint. The pipes on the fuel here are hard and starting to perish, so I will need to replace all them at some point. I probably do need to check gearbox oil because I clearly have a leak up here. Let's have a look. Oh, the magnet just come off my mag mount. I will have to fix that. But I clearly have myself a leak here around the winch PTO. So I probably will need to check gearbox oil. At last check it wasn't leaking too bad, although the output shaft seal is probably leaking as well, because I've got a bit coming out the handbrake drum there. So yeah, definitely need to check gearbox oil levels in the very near future. So yeah, there's a few bits and bobs I've got to keep an eye on, but I think it will get us to where we need to go. The muffler still feels in good nick. That's all good. Alright, so basic checks are done. The concerning bit is done, and my magnet, which that has done exceptionally well for a magnet, it's stuck onto that base for quite a long time. So I've got some fresh epoxy, I'll use that. I now need to get out from under here. That's going to take a few minutes. I've got to do it a little bit at a time, so I'll see you when I'm out. Alright, I'm out and in what I like to refer to as the land of the upright again. I've got grease everywhere, so perfect opportunity to get some grit mitts soap. It's a replacement for Solvol. And so I'll go get my hands cleaned up, then I'll go through some of the stuff we've got to pull out of here. So as time goes on, this is turning into more of a blog about stuff. I did make myself a operations manual for this whole setup. The actual main control box is already inside. I picked that up about a month ago. But in here I've got all my my crontab programming list for all this and all the shows and whatnot that happen on it, and all the hand notations for the modifications I've made. Anyway, this is a light and sound show system I set up for an Armed Forces museum, and it goes through a bunch of displays and whatnot, and it flickers the cabinet lights to simulate shelling of a bunker and whatnot. In any case, we have the main subwoofer assembly, which is a powered sub, which is a 12 volt unit. So we're going to take that inside first. Right, so the next bit, this is a Rakophone Peewee vintage radio. We've managed to glue in some replacement gauze, which looks okay, and I designed some 3D printed knobs. So what goes on in here is that there is one fake knob. The other knob adjusts the volume of a preamplifier, and there's a speaker in a frame that reflects pretty similarly what would have been here. This is used for some parts of the display. Now I'll put a couple of links in the description to some older videos on my earlier channel that should display some of what's going on with this. Now I have 4 of these little satellite speakers. They're not the greatest, but they do for the job of just creating that ambient directionless sound. It's a bit more immersive. Alright, and the last part, aside from the main piece that's inside, is this, which is an old amplifier I've had for ages that drives those 4 speakers, and it has a center tap for the subwoofer, which is nice. And this little sliding volume control for the sub actually has some problems it needs to clean up. So this is going to get pulled, stripped down, open, given a service. We'll hopefully make it work again. Now, at the other end of the museum, I have a little Raspberry Pi set up that drives a little video, composite video multiplier or distribution amp, and drives all the TVs around the museum, and it plays different shows that are relevant to each section. So what we have here is a power lead and a TV. Now it automatically turns on the TV, so what I need to do with this is open it up and connect a couple of wires to the power button so that the relay card in that system can turn the TV on automatically. Alright, let's get that inside and we'll recap. Alright, so next thing I need to do is, normally I would be filling up this water jerry, which is just the right size, but I used it for river water. I pumped through the filter and clogged my filter something chronic, and then I put chlorine tablets in it, so it's probably quite hygienic to use, but I have a brand new one, slightly different shape, not as convenient, but we need to fill out with a bit of water. I do have 2 big water jerrys on board, and we're not going away from civilization, so it won't be a huge issue, but it's just handy to have that on board. Got to clean up some cleaning rags. This whole assembly replaces the one that got smashed from when I bounced the ambo. I'm going to include that clip right here as well. So you can see I've been through a bit of time. I did a whole episode on rebuilding that. I'm not sure when I scheduled it, but I would hope you will have seen that by now if you go back through my older videos. This has shifted slightly. That's okay. We need to top this up too, because I want to get in and flip the switch in the morning as we leave, because I'm going to have to go without breakfast. Yes, that is up quite high, but it does need changing, so let's tip that out. Right, and we've got good old hexy tabs hiding away underneath there, just in case the power fails me. Alright, so we're going to top that up with some fresh water. Look, I know this is fairly mundane stuff, guys, but hopefully gives you a bit of perspective as to what I go through for this sort of stuff. But, you know what, this nozzle idea is actually more trouble than it's worth. Okay. A bit of fresh water in here. So that means in the morning I can get in, flick my switch, the heater will come on. I can throw a like a retort pouch or a ration pack meal in there and have a hot meal by the time I show up at the hospital, because I've got about an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours of driving by the time I get there. So that will give me, because I don't know if I'm going to get breakfast by the time this happens. I have all the morning duties to do, and I often won't get time for breakfast. I rarely do sometimes, or most of the time. My concentration for unscripted stuff has completely gone. I'm having trouble concentrating and talking and everything, and this is fairly typical of pre-treatment day. It's usually the week leading up to this I usually fall to bits, and that's kind of what's happening now. I normally space my videos so you guys don't see that, but it's been recently suggested to me that that's not advantageous. I should really just be myself and tell you guys what goes on, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm also seeking a diagnosis for Asperger's syndrome, or sorry, ASD now. It's autism spectrum disorder. And I'll move the camera off the fridge because it's no doubt noisy. After this fridge flipped upside down, the compressor mountings have moved a bit and it's noisier, so we will be opening that fridge to fix it at some point. So yeah, and I just noticed now that I've lost a screw out of that bracket there, so I have to find another one for that. Wherever I look, there are things to fix. There is just a never-ending list of stuff. I managed to get my apprentice a little GPS watch phone. The kids set up one, so I've got to duck up the street and find a SIM card for that, because I'm going to need it tomorrow, because she's getting picked up in an unusual fashion, and the school in at least one occasion in the past has got confused, and she hasn't got on the bus when she should have and got on the bus when she shouldn't have. So a little GPS watch is kind of handy. When I'm not here, I can instruct the person picking her up exactly where she is and where she's going. So that will be handy, and she'll be happy to have a little phone on her wrist she can call with, so that'll be good. But yeah, I do need to go and find a SIM card for that before the shops close, and it's only just now cooled off enough that I can bear going outside again. There is so much to think about, and this video is probably way off what I would normally do, but yeah, I've got some noisy neighbours too. It sounds like we're going to have a noisy evening tonight. Just not uncommon here, but we're lucky in that the police haven't showed up this time, so interesting stuff. Anyway, I'm going to conclude this because I've rambled on for what I would estimate is probably about 8 or 10 minutes, plus the cut-in videos as well. So this is a bit of a blog entry about prepping to go and get treatment. After the treatment, I'm going to probably get knocked on my ass for a couple of days, and then I'm going to be up and probably making videos 7 a day like I did over Christmas. And I'll probably space them out once every 2 days, because that seems to be the timing that is working for me at the moment. So I hope you guys can deal with a video every 2 days. If you can, all the better, and it's a bit more sustainable that way. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Well, I hope this sort of fills in a few gaps for you. See you later.